Hello, and thank you for joining us on Bible Bits today. Today we're going to speak of falling away, free choice, and thoughts on Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is desperately wicked. Does that apply also to the Christian? Is the Christian like a invisible Superman suit that keeps you from sinning? If it isn't the Lord that keeps you from sinning, and you're on your own, and you follow your heart, well then you will sin. The heart is desperately wicked. How about the nun that recently discovered who over the years confiscated $800,000 from her parish? That's a lot of money to spend on yourself. See, the heart basically is selfish, spends on itself. She did say later, I sinned when she was before the judge, but of course she sinned, and of course she's going to pay the penalty. Well, how about these three men? There was a wise and rich king, and he was the wisest man. He knew everything, and yet, even though he knew right, for most of his life, he did wrong until the very end in his journal, where he said, "The best thing you can do is eat, drink, and give thanks to God for what you have for the day, and also to fear God and obey His commandments." That was the very last things that he said before his breath was taken from him and given back to God. But in the meantime, he did have 1,000 wives, or 300 some odd wives and 700 concubines, and he experienced every pleasure not held back from him. And he sinned because he was taken away the from the good upbringing, mostly good, that his father, King David, brought him, to pagan gods of Egypt. Who am I talking about? That was King Solomon. How about a prophet? A prophet can be less than cooperative. You didn't think so, did you? A prophet can even be unrepentant. No. Give me an example of that in the Old Testament. Think about Jonah. Jonah was told to go to New York, and instead he got on a flight and went the other way to Los Angeles. Sit under the palm trees, enjoy some, I guess, Mai Tais and with the umbrella in it. He didn't want to do God's command. Why? Because the people of New York, or Nineveh, were wicked, evil, and he didn't want them to be saved. He wanted salvation only to be for his people, the Jews. And so he suffered because the trip that brought him there, they had to get rid of him, throw him overboard for a certain death, yet Lord was merciful to him. And for 3 days and 3 nights, he prayed to the Lord. And when he was finally given the chance to do the job, he did the job, but he was unhappy that God spared the people for a good another 70 to 100 and some odd years, almost a little over a century, before Nineveh was destroyed. That's Babylon, and then taken over along the Syrian army. And then finally, that's Jonah, by the way. And so, what about the king? The king of Israel, one of the greatest kings, who said, "Search my heart." Well, on this day, he wasn't asking the Lord to search his heart when he should have been out in battle helping people, and especially his most faithful people, Joab and Uriah, and no, he was out walking the tops of his rooftops, and he saw naked Bathsheba bathing, and decided to call her in and to have her, although she was married to another. David knew this was a sin, but David could not control his lust or his family too well. That's why I always say, when a man can't control himself, can't control his family, definitely can't control government. He was fortunate that God gave him grace to do just that. So, even King David went wrong. But he didn't at least have the right heart to come back to God. Well, the few that did come back to God, he did say, create in me a clean heart and renew in me a right spirit. Do not take away your Holy Spirit from me. See, when the Lord in Romans 1:18 finally gives up on you, that's a bad day, because it's like you're beyond help. Now, who's going to be your help if the Lord isn't? We must come to a point where we're not so seared and so selfish that we quit doing our own thing, but we start learning to do the things of the Lord, because it is God the Father who puts that in our heart to desire to do good. Otherwise, we follow the heart like Disney, when you wish upon a star. Ridiculous. We will find the way, the truth, and the life, and that's in Jesus Christ. No man comes to him but through the Father calling him. So therefore, that is what the desperate, wicked heart does. It does what it wants continually. In fact, it's so provocative that it knows to do right, yet still does wrong, even when being watched. That's evil. Well, may the Lord bless and keep you, and I hope this meant something to you. Leave a comment and hit subscribe. Thanks for joining us.